Remember the first time Rowan's hand found mine without meaning to? We were standing too close in his kitchen, the kind of closeness that happens when a conversation feels important and neither person wants to step away. I was speaking, slowly, choosing my words. He was listening the way some people do when they don't want to miss anything, not just with his ears, but with his posture, his eyes, the stillness of his body. When his fingers brushed the back of my hand, he stopped moving. He didn't pull away. He didn't tighten his grip. He simply paused and looked at me, asking a quiet question with his eyes. I answered by turning my hand slightly, letting our palms touch for just a second longer. That was enough. Rowan had a calm confidence that wasn't loud. He didn't rush moments. He didn't fill silence just to hear his own voice. When he kissed me for the first time, it was gentle and steady, like he wanted me to feel safe before anything else. When he held me, it was never about pulling me closer. It was about making room. I trusted him because he never tried to take more than I offered. But connections like that don't stay unseen forever. Elias noticed before anyone said a word. Rowan's father had a way of entering rooms quietly and leaving an impression anyway. He was measured, thoughtful, the kind of man who watched before he spoke. When he looked at Rowan and me together, his gaze lingered, not accusing, not curious, just aware. I felt it in the pauses when he joined us, in the way he studied how Rowan leaned toward me, how my body turned toward his son without effort. Elias didn't interrupt. He didn't comment. He simply took note. Milo noticed too, though differently. Milo was softer, more uncertain. He hovered on the edges of conversations, listening more than speaking. When I laughed, his attention snapped toward me before he remembered to look away. When our hands brushed passing a plate or a book, he flushed, embarrassed by the simple contact. None of it felt dangerous. It felt human. I never pretended not to see what was happening. I don't believe in ignoring truth just because it's complicated. The morning Elias came to speak with me alone, I wasn't surprised. He stood in my living room, not sitting, hands relaxed at his sides. His presence was calm but full, like he carried responsibility the way others carried weight. He didn't start with accusations or warnings. "You matter to Rowan," he said plainly. I met his gaze. I didn't smile. I didn't explain. "Yes," I replied. He studied my face for a long moment, looking for something. Carelessness, maybe, or manipulation. Whatever he expected, it wasn't there. "I won't interfere," he said after a pause, "but I won't pretend I don't see what's happening." "I wouldn't ask you to," I said. That conversation didn't change what existed between Rowan and me, but it clarified something important. I wasn't going to hide, and I wasn't going to force anything into the light before it was ready. That's why I invited them all to dinner, not as a test, not as a performance, but as a moment where we could sit in the same room and let honesty exist without pressure. I cooked slowly that evening, letting the rhythm of it calm me. I chose simple food, warm lighting, music low enough to be ignored. When they arrived, Elias first, composed as always, Rowan close behind, his eyes checking my face for reassurance. Milo last, hesitant but curious. I welcomed them the same way, openly, warmly, without pretending nothing was there. At the table, conversation flowed easily at first. Stories, small jokes, ordinary things. But beneath it, something deeper moved quietly. Rowan sat close enough that our knees touched. When his hand rested near mine, I didn't pull away. His little finger brushed my knuckle, tentative at first. I turned my hand just enough to make it intentional. His breath changed, barely. Milo noticed and looked down, then back up, unsure where to place his attention. Elias noticed everything and said nothing. After dinner, I stood to clear the table. When I returned, I didn't sit right away. I stood there, letting the quiet settle around us like a shared breath. "I don't like pretending," I said gently, "and I don't think any of us do." No one interrupted. "I believe closeness should be chosen," I continued. "Not hidden, not rushed, and never forced." Rowan reached for my hand openly then, his grip warm and steady. He pressed a brief kiss to my knuckles, soft, respectful. I leaned my head against his shoulder for a moment, letting that closeness speak. Milo nodded slowly, like something inside him had found its place. Elias exhaled, a quiet sound of acceptance rather than resistance. Nothing dramatic happened that night, and yet everything changed. After that, the air between us felt clearer. Rowan and I continued as we had, steady, honest, close. Our touches were simple, hands on arms, quiet kisses, shared stillness on couches where conversation faded into comfort. Milo grew more confident. He spoke more freely. He laughed without checking himself. Sometimes our hands brushed, and we didn't jump apart like it was a mistake. We acknowledged the feeling without feeding it. Elias remained present and respectful, a man who understood that boundaries can exist alongside awareness. That restraint isn't denial, it's choice. Time passed gently. One evening, Rowan and I sat together, his arm resting around my shoulders. His thumb traced small, absent movements along my arm, not possessive, just grounding. Milo sat across from us, relaxed now, no longer avoiding the space between us. Elias watched from his chair, calm and settled. I realized then that intimacy isn't always about what happens. Sometimes it's about what doesn't. The things we don't rush, the words we don't force, the lines we respect because we understand their meaning. Later, when Rowan and I were alone, he asked quietly, "Was that hard for you?" "No," I said truthfully. "It felt right." He smiled, resting his forehead against mine for a moment. No rush, no claim, just presence. That's when I understood something fully. Power isn't about leading others where they don't want to go. It's about standing still and letting truth arrive on its own time. It's about choosing honesty, even when silence would be easier. And sometimes the most intimate thing you can do is sit at the table, meet every gaze without flinching, and decide not to hide.